Have you heard what happened to Susan Boyle? She stunned the world with a voice that defied every expectation, transforming from an unlikely contestant into a global sensation virtually overnight. But what happens when the spotlight fades, and life behind the curtain turns out to be far more complicated than anyone imagined? Susan Boyle's journey has taken turns that even her most devoted fans never saw coming. Health crises, family heartbreak, a devastating stroke, and years of silence, and now, in 2025, something remarkable is happening. She's back. But to truly understand what that comeback means, you have to understand everything she fought through to get there. Health battles and setbacks. Susan Boyle's incredible rise to fame was shadowed by ongoing health struggles that few fully understood at the time. In 2012, she received a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, a condition on the autism spectrum that finally explained her lifelong challenges with social interaction and sensory sensitivity. For Susan, it was both a revelation and a relief, clarity she had been quietly searching for her entire life. But Asperger's was just one piece of a much larger picture. Susan had battled epilepsy from childhood, suffering seizures during school hours that became fuel for bullying rather than a reason for compassion. Misdiagnosed, misunderstood, and often left without proper support, she carried that burden largely alone. Then in 2013 came a type 2 diabetes diagnosis, forcing her to overhaul her diet and daily routines, including giving up her beloved chocolate. Each new condition layered more complexity onto an already demanding life. The most frightening chapter arrived in April 2022, when Susan suffered a stroke. During a return visit to Britain's Got Talent in June 2023, she revealed the stroke had occurred and told the audience, "I have fought like crazy to get back on stage." The road back was long and grueling, involving intensive speech therapy just to reclaim her ability to sing. Most people in her position might have quietly retired. Susan refused. Today.com. In May 2025, she returned to the recording studio for the first time in 6 years, something, she admitted, she had been told she might never achieve again. "Today was wonderful, emotional, and everything in between," she wrote. "But here we are, in my happy place." That single post moved fans to tears around the world. It was proof that Susan Boyle's greatest performance wasn't on any stage, it was her refusal to give up. NBC. Sudden rise in global fame. To appreciate how far she fell, and how high she has climbed back, you have to return to the beginning. When Susan walked onto the Britain's Got Talent stage in 2009, the audience's skepticism was almost audible. Plain clothes, quiet demeanor, nearly 50 years old, she was everything the entertainment industry had been conditioned to overlook. Then she opened her mouth. Her performance of I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables silenced the room instantly. Within days, her audition video had been viewed millions of times on YouTube, becoming one of the most watched clips in the platform's history at that point. Celebrities publicly praised her. Strangers wept watching her. Though she finished as the runner-up, it barely mattered. Her debut album shattered records, selling over 2 million copies worldwide in its first week and becoming the fastest-selling debut by a female artist in UK history. Her wealth eventually surpassed $45 million. But the weight of that sudden fame was crushing. The media scrutiny, the relentless schedule, the overnight transformation from quiet life in West Lothian to global spectacle, it overwhelmed her. Shortly after the finale, she was admitted to a mental health facility. The fairy tale had a far darker interior than the headlines suggested. Early life and hidden challenges. Born April 1, 1961, in West Lothian, Scotland, Susan grew up as the youngest of 10 siblings in a modest council house. Her father was a miner with a love of song, her mother worked as a shorthand typist. From the very beginning, life was difficult. A complicated birth briefly deprived her of oxygen, which was later believed to contribute to her learning difficulties. School was not a refuge, it was a gauntlet. Peers called her Susie Simple. Teachers used belts for discipline. Seizures in the classroom brought ridicule rather than help. Through all of it, music was her sanctuary. She sang in her parish church choir, performed at local talent shows, and held quietly to a dream that the world around her did little to encourage. She spent years in government training programs and short-term jobs, never quite finding solid ground. And through much of her adult life, she set aside her own ambitions to care for her ailing mother. When her mother Bridget passed away in 2007, Susan's siblings encouraged her to finally pursue that long-held dream. She auditioned for Britain's Got Talent. The rest, as they say, is history, but the history is far richer and more painful than a 2-minute audition clip can ever convey. Breakthrough on Britain's Got Talent. The moment Susan began singing in that Glasgow auditorium, something shifted in the cultural atmosphere. Judge Amanda Holden called it the biggest wake-up call she had ever witnessed. Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore were among the celebrities who publicly celebrated her online. The contrast between expectation and reality was so stark, so human, that it struck a universal nerve. She finished second, losing to dance group Diversity, but no one who watched that season remembers it as a defeat. Her debut album flew off shelves at a pace the industry hadn't seen before. She had proven, at 47 years old, that talent answers to no timetable. Her story became a symbol of hope for anyone who had ever been counted out too soon. Family dynamics and personal loss. Fame brought complications that went far beyond the public eye. When Susan used her newfound wealth to help her brother Jerry with a significant loan to save his business, it ignited conflict among her siblings, painful disputes that played out in damaging ways. Her sister Bridie became her most steadfast protector during those turbulent years, shielding her from media intrusion and family tension alike. When Bridie died of cancer in 2015, it was a blow from which Susan took a long time to recover. She quietly took on responsibility for Bridie's daughter, adding another layer of love and duty to her private life. Through it all, she remained in the same West Lothian council house where she had grown up. No mansion, no entourage. Just the familiar comfort of home, her Roman Catholic faith, her parish choir, and her community values that no amount of fame could shake loose. Coping with fame and mental health. The mental health struggles Susan faced after her rise to fame were real and serious. The exhaustion of a non-stop schedule, interviews, tours, promotional appearances, pushed her beyond what her mind and body could sustain. After the Britain's Got Talent finale, she was admitted to a mental health clinic, a moment she has since spoken about with disarming honesty. Her openness about her Asperger's diagnosis and her anxiety helped spark important conversations about neurodiversity at a time when those discussions were far rarer in mainstream media. She didn't position herself as a spokesperson, she simply told the truth about her own experience, and that truth resonated with millions. In doing so, she became something more than a singer. She became a voice for people who had always felt misunderstood. Learning to pace herself took years. Gradually, she found a rhythm, periods of performance balanced with intentional retreat, reconnecting with faith, family, and the quieter pleasures of daily life. Later career and what's happening right now. After her debut, Susan released a string of albums: The Gift, Someone to Watch Over Me, Hope, A Wonderful World, each one a testament to her vocal staying power. In 2019, she marked a decade in music with 10, a compilation that reminded the world she was still very much present. Then came the stroke in 2022, the long recovery, and years largely out of the public eye. Many wondered if her performing days were behind her. They were wrong. In April 2025, Susan made a triumphant return to Instagram, dressed in a hot pink blazer and declaring, "I am back, definitely back." She shared that she was already working on new projects, adding, "Your support means the world to me and I'm more determined and excited than ever." News. The news kept getting better. By November 2025, she was back in the studio on multiple occasions, confirming that new music is coming, her first since 2019. She has also spoken about a documentary in the pipeline, a drama, a potential tour, and even a cameo in a Rupert Everett film for which she is singing the soundtrack. She even turned heads at the 2025 Pride of Britain Awards, debuting a chic new blonde bob, a small but joyful signal that the woman who once stood nervously on a talent show stage has grown into someone comfortable in her own skin and excited about what comes next. NBC+2. Legacy and Lessons from Susan Boyle. Susan Boyle's story refuses to be contained by a single narrative. She is not simply the woman who surprised the world in 2009. She is a woman who survived bullying, misdiagnosis, grief, diabetes, a stroke, and years of pressure that would have broken most people, and who is now, at 64, preparing to release new music and step back into the light on her own terms. Her legacy challenges everything the entertainment industry claims to value. She was not young. She was not groomed. She was not polished. She was simply honest, and that honesty connected with something deep and universal in audiences around the world. She still lives in West Lothian. She still sings in her parish choir. She still visits elderly members of her community. And she is still, quietly and stubbornly, proving that the most powerful thing a person can do is refuse to stop. As she wrote from the studio in May 2025, "I've achieved more in the past 5 years since appearing on Britain's Got Talent than I did in the first 47 years of my life, and I have loved every minute." That sentence, more than any chart position or record sale, captures who Susan Boyle truly is. NBC. Some voices are built for a single moment. Hers, it turns out, was built for a lifetime. If Susan's story moved you, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because stories like hers are exactly why we keep telling them.